right, welcome back everybody to another edition of Chasing Ghosts. This is the video series where I look at those hard to find, those impossible to find comics, those things you just don't see up on the wall when you frequent your LCS or the shops in your area, just those tough books that just you don't see all the time. Just, you don't run across them on your everyday hunts, basically. I'm going to be doing something a little different where I've been kind of blurring the lines between some of these video series that I do here on Rennavision, and I'm going to kind of do more of a theme this week, focusing in on basically two characters, and see what you guys think of that. Let me know what you think in the comments. Please like, subscribe, hit the alert button so you don't miss anything. Continue to keep telling your friends so we can keep growing this channel and do some more fun stuff like giveaways. And come check out the live shows that we do on Wednesdays and on Sundays, as the chats are always a good time and a lot of fun. And yeah, so just come check it out. Now, with that all being said, if you want to see what ghosts or potential ghosts I might be bringing up this week, just hang on for a few seconds after the intro, and I'll be right back with the books. Okay, so as I kind of teased there in the open, this week we are going to be kind of looking at two characters, two titles, sort of. I mean, they're very closely related, but this is what I decided I wanted to do this week because I had a couple of these books on the list of books to do for Chasing Ghosts, and I felt like, you know what? Let's group these together and let's just do kind of a special themed episode this week where we're going to look at Red She-Hulk and She-Hulk. I don't know. They tie in pretty closely together. Will we see Red She-Hulk show up on screen anytime soon? Probably not. But that doesn't mean we can't look at the books because some of these books are really hard to find. Print runs are very low and you just don't come across them all that often. So that's where we're going to start. We're going to start with the Red She-Hulk part of this because I had one or two of these on my list and then I realized, you know what? This entire run of She-Hulks where they had 1 in 50 incentives are all very tough. So let's just talk about all of them, no harm in that. Now, even though I mentioned the 1 in 50s, we're going to start off with this incentive first. Now, this is only a 1 in 20. Well, I figured, you know what? Let's just take a look. While we're here and while we're looking at these incentives, why not just take a look at this 1 in 20 for this Red She-Hulk, number 58. This is She-Hulk kind of picks up the title and it becomes Red She-Hulk off of that Hulk title. This is from October 2012. Like I said, it's a 1 in 20 incentive. Pretty cool cover there. I think this is Cho. Is this Cho? Is this Dodson? I think this might be Cho. But the estimated print run on this issue 58 is 31,000. Thereabouts, a little over. So when you do that kind of basic math, we're looking at basically about 1,500 or so potentials for this 1 in 20 incentive. So you're getting kind of an idea where we're going to be getting with when we get to that 1 in 50. But let's stick with the 1 in 20 for a minute. Now, looking at the CGC census, you can see there's only a few. There's 34, 26 9/8, 6 9/6s, and then a couple others. And just for fun, I might try doing this going forward. I'm also going to be looking at the CBCS population report, see if we have any of these books in there as well, because it can't hurt. So in the CBCS population report, however, there is only one listed in their census, their version of the census, I should say, and it's a 9/4. But I don't know. I feel like it's still helpful information. And where there's, information on both, I will try to provide you both. Let me know what you think of that too in the comments. If you like to have both the population report and the CGC census when we go through these ghost books. Because again, I think it gives you a better idea of what's out there rather than just sticking with one of the grading companies. Let's go with the other big grading company as well. I mean, yes, we're not going to dive into PGX or Halo or any of those other weird companies that are out there these days. We'll stick with the two for now and see where that takes us. But enough of that. Let's look at what's actually out there listed for sale right now. Can you find this book if you want to go looking for it online? Well, you can. You can find one. There's one out there right now, and it's asking $170 for, again, a 1 in 20 incentive. So that is well over ratio and a pretty steep premium for this book. I don't know. Again, it's not easy to find. And if you want to see what this is sold for, well, there were a couple sales. There was a 9.8 that sold on Christmas Eve for $500, and then back in November, a Raw sold for $150. So that seems to be about the going rate. That one copy that's out there seems pretty close to the market. Now, since we brought up this issue, this 1 in 20, we obviously got to talk about the 1 in 50 as well, because there is a higher incentive ratio for this book. Again, this is where Red She-Hulk took over the title, this Hulk title, and it became Red She-Hulk for a little stretch. I think like 10 issues thereabouts. And the first few all have 1 in 50 incentives, like this Greg Horn cover here. I'm sure you've probably seen this one before. It's a pretty popular cover out there. Also, October 2012, and the print run's going to be the same because it's the same comic. It's just the higher incentive ratio, which means that potentially, when we do that math for this 1 in 50, we're looking at only about 622 copies of this Greg Horn cover out there. Definitely not a lot. And if we check the CGC census on this one, there's actually more copies of this than there are of the 1 in 20. Because, like I said, this is a known book. People are aware of this one, so it is known. And so people, when they find it, they tend to get it graded. So we have 47 total in the census, 31 9/8s, 8 9/6s, 7 9/4s, and then it looks like a single 9/0 as well. So that kind of rounds out that. And checking the CBCS population report, there are 5 copies on their census, or their version of the census, where they got 2 9/8s, 2 9/6s, and it looks like an 8/5 for this over there. So the numbers are definitely a lot lower on the CBCS population report as opposed to the CGC census, but it is a newer system for them. So as things go along, I'm sure this population report will start to fill itself out a little bit more, and we'll get to, the numbers will probably grow as more submissions roll into their coffers, I guess. Now, what's listed for sale for this 1 in 50? If you go out hunting right now, you can only find a 9/8, and it's asking $1,300. Definitely not cheap, and that's the only one out there right now. So, as I said, not easy books to find. And if you want to know what this is actually sold for in the recent months, well, there are none for us to compare. And that's going to be a popular theme as we run through these. There's not a lot of evidence of sales going through eBay, at least over the last few months, for any of these. So let's not harp on that point. Let's just move on to the next one. To the next issue in the series is issue 59 of this Red She-Hulk series. And there is another 1 in 50, and I kind of dig this one. It has this kind of a propaganda poster kind of style to it. I think it's a Luke Ross cover. Definitely pretty cool. I like it. It's got a Rocketeer vibe to it. Almost might be a Rocketeer, homage for what it looks like to me. But this is also, again, a 1 in 50 incentive. This would be the next month, November of 2012. And estimated print run for issue 59, which is the second in this series where Red She-Hulk has taken over the title. The print run drops all the way to a little over 20,000. So we went from 31,000 all the way down to 20,000 on this one. So that makes our incentive potentially drop all the way to 413 copies of this one. So that is a steep decline over that Greg Horn cover. Again, based on estimated numbers. There's nothing concrete that I can provide you. This is just the information that's out there, and I'm just trying to give it to you so you can make your own decisions of what you want to do with this information. Now, the CGC census has 18 total for this particular issue. We got 10 9/8s, 3 9/6s, 3 9/4s, and then a couple of 9/0s. And CBCS population report actually has this listed twice, but I think it's the same book, and there are 2 copies, a 9/8 and a 9/6. So, again, not a lot in this either census or either population report, and not a lot of copies out there, because when we go looking to see what's listed for sale, there are a few, but still not a ton. I mean, it's a healthy amount when you think about it compared to the other book. We got $175 raw, a 9/8 540, another 9/8 $500. Looks like a 9/4 asking $155, and another $500 raw. So prices are kind of all over, and there are a few copies of it out there. But still, that's really all that I could find total. And if you want to see what it's sold for, there are a couple. So we got to compare it to a couple of cheap sales. Bargains, if you ask me. I would have bought personally at these prices. I'm not telling you what you should do, but had I seen these when they were out around $50 around ratio, I'd probably buy this, because like I said, I kind of like this cover. So that $35 off of 12 bids on November 14th, or going back to Halloween where there was $56 winning auction with 11 bids. Either of those probably were in my wheelhouse of what I would probably pay for a book like this personally. Like I said, I like it. I dig it. I think it's pretty cool. It's not something I'm gonna like break my back searching for, but had I come across it, I would have been happy to pay probably these prices here. The asking prices right now might be a little steep for me based on what it is because I'm not a huge Red She-Hulk fan. I just like the homage cover here, and it's a pretty tough book to find. So that's kind of why I would want it personally. But we're going to move on again. Next issue in the series. So now we're hitting up issue 60 for this Red She-Hulk series. As we got another incentive cover from December of 2012, and this is once again a 1 in 50 incentive. Why they stuck with these 1 in 50 incentives on this title, I don't know. I don't know why they didn't have a lower incentive. Like, why didn't they make these 1 in 25s? Who knows? But they decided to stick with the 1 in 50s. So who knows how many shops were actually ordering 50 copies of Red She-Hulk? But the estimated print run's still sticking in that 20,000 range, again, like the month before. So it bumped up, I think, a couple hundred copies, but not a lot. So the estimated incentive goes up from 413 to 415. So not a huge increase. There's potentially 2 more copies of this one than there are of the last one. Just, again, going off of that basic math. The census for this one, there's less. There's only 11 total in the CGC census for this, with only 4 9/8s, 6 9/6s, and a 9/4. So definitely a small number, and there were none to be found on the CBCS population report for this particular issue. And like I said, I kind of like this one too. There's something about the huge sword, nice little background there with the kind of jungle theme. It gets you kind of like a King Kong kind of vibe. I don't know, Skull Island maybe. But with that said, we do have a single copy out there right now, $350 for a 9/6 with 17 watchers. So there are people keeping an eye on this book for this one. And if we want to see what's actually sold, however, there were none. So we don't know what the market actually is. So none sold, only one out there. And yeah, this is going to take us to our next one. We're just going to keep moving. 61. 61 is our next issue in this run. And yes, they are still doing 1 in 50 incentives on Red She-Hulk. This time, this kind of a, I don't want to say transformation, where she goes from a regular looking as Red She-Hulk to a more monster kind of version of Red She-Hulk. Definitely more hulked out than in the previous incarnations. Now, this is again 1 in 50, January 2013. And this is a lower print run, as the print run decided to dip at this point in the run with only about 18,815 copies estimated. So when we do that incentive math, we're looking at under 400 copies at 376 potentials. When we do that, again, 1 in 50 math on that estimated print run. Now, when we look at the census, what do we got here? We have a total of 4 in the census for this one, with only 3 9/8s and a single 9/6. So numbers are dwindling as we go through this series. They are dropping. And as you might guess, there is no CBCS population report for this. So we only have the 4 graded that we are aware of at this moment. Now, what's actually listed for sale? If you are interested in this one, it's got the little kind of like the dots in the background. I think that's what they're going for. The Bende dots, I believe they're called. Popularized in comic book coloring from way back from the comic strips. But that all said, there are no copies out there right now for this one. So good luck finding it. And what's actually sold? Well, same story. None have been sold either. So this one is just not out there right now. Again, it's not my favorite cover of this group. Definitely not my favorite. It's probably my least favorite, but it seems to be the hardest to find right now. But we are not done yet. That was issue 61. I believe we still have one more Red She-Hulk to go, and that is issue 62 of this run. And I do kind of like this one. I like it. I like it when they play with the trade dress. I know I've mentioned it before, but like the title of the book is built into the image as part of the background. I like that. So that's just a personal thing of mine. I enjoy that when the artists do that. So I like those types of covers, and I look for them. But this, I think, is our last 1 in 50. This one was from February of 2013. And estimated print run again dips now all the way down to 17,000. So it's dipped under the 18,000 number, 17,766. So when we do that math, our incentive then drops to about 355 copies. Numbers getting smaller, which is probably why the title didn't last much longer, nor did them continuing these 1 in 50 incentives. But with that said, what's in the CGC census? There are actually a couple more of this one than the last. 13 to be precise. 4 9/8s, 3 9/6s, 2 9/4s, 2 9/2s, and 2 9/0s to round out that whole total of 13, with none, again, on the CBCS population report for this particular book. And if you want to go looking for this one, there actually are two out there. We have a 9.6 asking $500 at auction, and then a buy it now listed on a raw asking $550. 15 watchers on that one as well. So there are your two options. If you're looking at this book, it's $500 plus. Whether you want a 9.6 or a raw, that's what you're looking at. And if you want to compare it to what's actually sold, however, there are no recent sales for you to use that sort of apples to apples comparison. But as I said, with that, we halt our Red She-Hulk incentive covers as the numbers dropped. I believe the series continued for another 5 issues with her headlining the title, but no longer did they continue the 1 in 50 or any incentives that I'm aware of on those ones, or at least that we want to talk about here. But as I mentioned in the opening, we're not just doing Red She-Hulk. Just for fun, I decided we should look at She-Hulk as well, just to kind of round things out, kind of fill out our numbers so we're not just doing just a handful of books, and just give us another perspective. And with the She-Hulk series coming to Disney Plus sometime in 2022, these are some books that I'm keeping an eye out for because I want to see what they do and see if interest returns to, Jennifer Walters. But we did start our Chasing Ghosts series very early on with one of these books, and that was the 1 in 100, the Saya I did one of those early episodes. So I'm not going to cover that one again because that would just be duplicating efforts. I've only been doing this for less than a year, so we're not going to go back and look at a market check-in or anything like that on that one. That one is still very, very expensive and very, very tough to find. But I don't remember if I mentioned it at the time, but She-Hulk 1 from 2014 not only had that 1 in 100 version, that yellow cover that a lot of people are aware of and are hunting, but there is also a 1 in 50 for this same title with this Ryan Stegman cover that I actually have sitting next to me. So I actually do have this one. Now, pretty cool cover. The Stegman is the one we're going to be talking about today, the 1 in 50. So I know the 1 in 100 is definitely going to be harder to find because there's half as many potentially. But this 1 in 50 incentive, again, came out in February 2014 and is still not the easiest book to track down. Plenty of copies printed, 41,000, just under 42,000 for the whole estimated print run. But still, when we do that math, the 1 in 50 still only give us about 837 potentials for this 1 in 50 incentive, which still is not a ton. It's more than some of those Red She-Hulk books that we just kind of ended up on, but still not like a whole bunch out there. There's still a very low number, by my estimations at least. And when we look at the census for this particular issue and this particular cover, we're looking at 34 in the CGC census with 26 9/8s, 5 9/6s, and then a couple others just kind of rounding that out. And when we check the CBCS population report, we got one copy listed at a 9.8 for it over on the CBCS side of things. So there are our census numbers for our graded copies. Are there any out there listed for sale? There's a couple, not a ton, but we got 3. $150 raw, $200 raw, or looks like $500 for that for a 9.8. So there are your prices for this book at the moment. Can you find it for cheaper? Potentially, but this is what's out there right now. And that bottom one looks like it might actually have a signature on it as well. That $200 copy seems like there's a signature here in this empty space on the cover. But what's sold? There are a few. There are a few that sold. And look, some of these you can sneak pretty cheap. $42 at auction on December 27th with 13 bids. 9 bids on December 5th for $68. A 9.8 buy it now for only $190. And then a best offer on $125 there on November 18th. So there are evidence of sales for this book, and a couple of them are not too bad. I mean, that one's under ratio. The most recent sale is under ratio. So I believe that's kind of in the range I paid. I paid for mine too. So if you're patient and if you look, sometimes these things you can find for that kind of price. So be patient is my best advice if you're looking for books like this. Unless you have the money to spend and you just don't care and you want to make sure you insure a copy for yourself, then go ahead, have at it, spend whatever you like. But if you were more of a cheaper bargain hunter like me, sometimes you just got to kind of watch, look for your window, look for your opening, and then hopefully see if you can secure one for a price that you're willing to pay or that one that you can afford. And if not, things don't work out and they just outbid you, even by just a couple of bucks, sometimes you still got to say, you know what? I took a shot. Who knows where that would have ended if you decide to get in a bidding war. So just sometimes you got to let those hard to reach chips go. Now, with that said, we're going to go on through the She-Hulk series from 2014 with the first couple of issues also having high incentives. Following up with issue 2 of that run, where we have this Amanda Connor cover, which is pretty cool. We got all the little the rainbow of like kind of memory, kind of tie-in things shooting out of her. Definitely pretty cool cover. This is from March of 2014, also a 1 in 50 incentive. So that's kind of the popular number we're working with here today, 1 in 50s. So not a small incentive. Shops had to order a bunch if they wanted these. And honestly, again, how many shops are ordering 50 copies of She-Hulk, even if it is a new series? Estimated print run on issue 2 dropped significantly. It's down to 26,000 thereabouts. So that makes our incentive only be about 533 potential copies, as opposed to the 800 plus we had for issue 1 of the 1 in 50. Now, checking the CGC census on this one, we're looking at only about 19 copies with 998s, 796s, and then a couple of others kind of rounding that out. And then heading over to CBCS, we got 194 in their census for this Amanda Connor cover. Now, listed for sale, what do we got? We got one. There's one out in the market right now. It's 120 bucks. Shipping from the UK is another 20. So when all's said and done, after you have to pay taxes, potentially, you're looking at around $150 maybe for this issue if you are interested in it. It's a tough book. May not be a bad buy. Who knows? But who knows how much the She-Hulk series is going to hit? Will other people start looking for this book? I don't know. It is what it is. But I'm still only in the market usually for these types of books closer to ratio. So I'm personally not buying at 120, but I'll keep an eye on it. I like to look. But this is definitely a tougher one, so just keep that in mind. But as you can see here, December 27th, it looks similar to the last sale. 3 bids, 55.25 is where it ended. So there, I'm more of a buyer. Like I said, right around ratio, I'm more interested than, say, the 125 that another one sold for at the end of November there. But again, that's just me. Now, keeping with this theme and one more 1 in 50, I believe, from this She-Hulk run. It was only 12 issues, I think, this 2014 run. And issue 3 also had a 1 in 50 incentive. This was from April of 2014. Yeah, interesting cover. I like the purple background. It helps pop the green, just as regular Hulk's color scheme goes. Print run on this one actually looks like it bumps up a little bit to 27,398. So that kicks our incentive up a few more copies, up to 547. And then when we look at the census, we still only have 8 with 698s and 296s, and none in the CBCS population report for this issue 3, 1 in 50. But want to go shopping for one? You do have a couple of options. You can grab this for 75 bucks raw or $300.98, which, all right, it's not terrible considering how few there are of this. But again, it's not the greatest cover. I'm not in love with this one, but it's okay. And these prices are, well, I mean, they are what they are. Considering the rarity of this book, they're not too off base. I'm, again, personally just not a buyer at those prices because I'm not the biggest She-Hulk fan. So I'm not going to pay those a little bit of a premium. Like I said, I'll look closer to ratio and try my luck there. Now, for what's actually sold, there are a few copies here too. And again, that looks like that same kind of seller. Look, December 27th, they must have had a bunch of auctions end for some of these incentive ratios, where that one ended at $37 on 10 bids on December 27th. And then there was a buy it now where they accepted a best offer on 60 bucks. And then another auction for a 9.8 that ended at only 128.50 back on November 21st. But that $37 one is definitely more in my wheelhouse for what I would be shopping for personally. But just to kind of wrap us up, I got one more She-Hulk because even though this next one is not a 1 in 50 incentive, it is the last incentive variant from this, like I said, 12-issue run of She-Hulk from 2014. So I figured, you know what? While we're here, let's just take a quick look at it and see what we got. So this issue 9 is the 75th anniversary Marvel incentive. So you got She-Hulk and then you got Deadpool popping in on that cover. This one, however, is from October 2014 and is only a 1 in 25 incentive. So not quite as high a ratio as the rest, but still, print run is down. So that'll help its numbers a little bit if we're looking at rarity, as this one drops to about 21,000 for the estimated full print run, which would give us about 856 of this incentive potentially out there. Again, it's not the greatest cover in the world. I'm not in love with this. It's kind of fun, but it's not bad. It's not terrible. It's just, it is what it is. And when we look at the CGC census on this one, there's still only about 9 copies with 798s, a 96, and it looks like a 92, making out that full run. And we do actually have two in the CBCS population report. Looks like there's two 9/8s of this book over on that side of things. So with 11 graded copies total, it's still not a whole heck of a lot. And if you want to go shopping for this particular one, well, you got three options. A couple of 9/8s looking at 350 and 450 respectively. And then there's a buy it now of the raw over in the UK, again, with that high shipping. It's $48 shipping on this one. And a $264 asking price. So you're looking at over $300 to get that thing shipped to the US of A for that raw copy. So you might want to consider those 9/8s when if you're considering paying that kind of price. Just saying. Why pay $300 for a raw when you can pay $350 for a 9/8? Else we'll get that guaranteed. Again, maybe you're not a graded guy. Usually when I shop for books like this, I don't look for graded. I look for raw because I prefer raw. And if I get things graded, I usually grade them myself just for my own self, edification, I guess. But with that all said, let's just finally check out what's sold on this particular one. And there are actually none over the last couple of months. So we don't have a market to compare those asking prices to for this one. But it's a healthy amount of books. I think we went through. I think actually we went through 10 this week. And with them being Red She-Hulk and She-Hulk, let's see what we got when we make our call over what's a ghost and what's just hard to find. And considering a few of these had a handful of copies, and in some cases at least 2 copies, we got 5 that we're going to put in that hard to find range. And 2 of them are 2 of my favorites, and one of the ones I actually do own. But we're still going to call these hard to find. These are not ghosts because there are more than one copy available if you are looking for one personally right now. Again, this is a moment in time snapshot. In another couple of months, if a copy or 2 sells, then we might be having a different conversation. But right now, this is the call I'm making. These 5 we'll call hard to find, and in most cases expensive. But that still leaves us with a healthy 5 copies, all of which I think have one out there, except that issue 61, my least favorite cover, has no copies. So 0 and just a single copy for these other ones, both issue 58s, issue 60, 61, and then She-Hulk number 2. I feel pretty comfortable considering there's only a copy or less for all of these being considered ghosts. Again, let me know what you think in the comments. Agree, disagree, let's have a conversation. Let me know if you have any of these. If you do, share, tag, put it on Instagram, tag me. I'd love to see them. I love seeing when people have some of these hard to find books and seeing that they're in collections. I think it's pretty cool. So I'm happy to be tagged, and I love seeing your guys' collections as well. So thank you for stopping by. Hopefully you like this, and hopefully you're still enjoying this series. Feel free to make more suggestions. I still have a healthy list of books to get through. I have a nice little Star Wars special we can do again in another couple of months. I don't want to overdo the Star Wars, so I'm at least going to try to hold it to at least quarterly to kind of bump them out. But I'm collecting ideas and suggestions for books all the time. So if you have any, mention in the comments. Send me a message on Instagram. Tag me on your collections. Show me what you got. I'm happy to see it. And hopefully you guys are having fun because I'm still having fun doing these videos, and hope to look forward to doing a lot more here in 2022. I might be changing the schedule around just a little bit, but we'll still have the live shows on Wednesdays and on Sundays. So make sure you come stop by the live chats and have some fun talking comics and Star Wars and stuff with us. And let's just keep having fun, everybody. And with that, I will leave you until the next time. Later.